Hello and welcome to the Heart of Markness Led Zeppelin podcast. This is episode 284. We're approaching 300 and I'm trying to think of something cool to do for that milestone. Tonight, today, this morning, this afternoon, this evening, whenever it is, wherever it is, welcome. We have for this week the opening night, which is November 28th, 1983, Dallas, Texas, of the famous, legendary, yet underrepresented and underappreciated Arms Tour. Now, as a Led Zeppelin fan, I know you're saying, well, the Led Zeppelin connection to this Arms Tour, sir, is the return to the stage of Mr. Jimmy Page after nearly 3 years of inactivity with occasional jams out and about. Yes, that is true. He came back, and he's kind of at a fairly low point in his life, but if what the scandalous Led Zeppelin biographies say is true, he had, by this time, for this event, gotten off of heroin, which is a very good thing. And in watching some of the videos, because there are several videos of this tour, if not this night, you'll see that comparing and contrasting him on stage on the Arms Tour in the U.S. compared to his Arms concert 2 months prior at the Royal Albert Hall, he's making eye contact, he's alert, he's trying to track things that are happening. In San Francisco, Paul's guitar craps out, so he has to borrow Andy Fairweather Lowe's guitar. Jimmy's watching that, and he's very aware of what's going on. So, there is something to be said for sobriety in that sense. It's rock star sobriety. He quit heroin. I don't believe he quit anything else, and I mean, he's working his way up. But, having said that, these performances are not this performance. qualify. This performance is not that bad. And in fact, it's the very first performance of Midnight Moonlight is actually decent, which makes me happy. I've been listening. I'm working on an Arms Tour, overall Arms project. Chronicling all the shows, trying to get sources for all the shows, critiquing all the shows, etc., gathering up interviews and context for that whole thing, because it was a pretty important event. It got a lot of press at a time when none of these guys were really at their career heights. These guys being Eric Clapton, Jeff Beck, Jimmy Page, Charlie and Bill from the Stones, Kenny from The Who, Fernando Saunders and Simon Phillips, of course. Oh, Joe Cocker. Yeah, Joe Cocker. Paul Rodgers from Bad Company, which had also broken up around the time of Zeppelin, maybe a couple years later. So all these people were pushing 40, and no generation of rock star had made it to that age while remaining relevant. I mean, you could go see Little Richard and Chuck Berry and Jerry Lee Lewis when they were 40, but you're going to see the stuff that they were playing in the 50s. You're not seeing new material. You're seeing an oldies show. These guys were trying to remain relevant in the 80s when there was such a hard sea change musically, especially with the appearance of MTV, that they were a little bit lost. If you look at the Rolling Stone album cover from, I think, January 1984, of everybody, they're all dressed like dads, sweater vests and button-up shirts and slacks. And because the 80s were, they weren't in torn neon post-apocalyptic rags, which was the fashion at the time. But even Rolling Stone was writing about them like, here are these people in deepening middle age, trying to find a way forward. Talking about like if they were getting these guys now in their 80s, like if they were grabbing Jimmy Page and he had to get up now and get it back, and everybody was that age. No, they were pushing 40. They were still in their 30s. Late 30s, granted, but still in their 30s, yet it was a big time culturally. And then you will notice within the next year, Jimmy Page has a band, The Firm. Eric Clapton suddenly goes from Money and Cigarettes and that laid-back J.J. Cale shit that he played for 100 years in the 70s. Nothing wrong with it, but it's not hard rockin'. With Forever Man, and suddenly he's in a trench coat looking cool and not looking like somebody's dad at school trying to find their daughter at the pickup. So there's something to that culturally. Jeff Beck, of course, was always Jeff Beck, but in the 80s, he certainly had a great decade with all the guest appearances he did. He played a lot with Tina Turner and John Bon Jovi. Remember Bon Jovi's Stupid Cowboy movie soundtrack solo album? Jeff Beck was all over that. And those are the only two I can think of at the moment, but he was everywhere in the 80s because he's fantastic doing lots of session stuff as well as putting out his own shit. And he had his People Get Ready song that he did with Rod Stewart that was a hit on its own on his own album. I think it was called Flash. That was also the next release he did after the Arms tour. All these guys kind of got a shot in the arm. If not career-wise, then at least internally, where they can address and deal with deepening middle age of turning 40. Oh my God, I would kill to be 40 again. And they pushed through, and then they redefined themselves and became, Clapton, from, say, 84 to 2004, was enormous. A 20-year run into legitimate deepening middle age. So this is cool. This is Dallas, Texas. This is the opening night of the Arms Tour. And if you don't know, should have led with this, the Arms Tour was a tour done by all these great British musicians. The best of British, as they say. Charlie Watts, Bill Wyman from the Rolling Stones, Kenny Jones from The Who, The Faces and the Small Faces, who was also bands in which Ronnie Lane, the reason for this tour, was the bass player of The Faces and the Small Faces, not The Who. And he had multiple sclerosis, MS, and initially the Arms concert in September, the one that's on video, where Jimmy comes out in his jacket and plays, and they have the Royal Albert Hall pipe organ and stuff with him, really cool. That was in September of 83. That was to get a hyperbaric oxygen chamber installed at a hospital in London so MS patients could avail themselves of that treatment, because Ronnie Lane said that was the only thing that made him feel any better. They continued the tour, first of all, to form a foundation and get more research into multiple sclerosis and to help out their friend Ronnie more, and also because they had such a great time doing it. You'd think it would be a clash of egos and diva behavior, but there was none of that. It was a bunch of dudes just hanging out and playing in the literal sense, playing, having fun, and it felt, they were happy to do something that was legitimately good, legitimately altruistic, and they liked it so much they put it on the road. So they did 9 dates in the United States, starting with 2 dates in Dallas, over to San Francisco, then to LA, and then finishing up in New York at Madison Square Garden. And this is the first American return of Jimmy Page. He hadn't played on stage publicly in the United States since July 24th, 1979. No, 77. See, I always do that. July 24th, 1977. July 24th, 1979 is the fantastic Copenhagen concert. 77. That's what I'm talking. So you've got, 6 years of being gone, and this is his return, and everyone's losing their shit to see Jimmy. And this, and his partnership with Paul Rodgers, is what got him going back in the saddle. All right, I'm going to shut up, and I'm going to play. I had to make some adjustments, because when I started this, I was doing the entire Arms show. So I had songs from Joe Cocker and songs from Jeff Beck and Clapton and those guys as well, but then I'm like, nope, this is not the project I'm working on. This is the Jimmy Page part, so we're keeping it to Jimmy Page-ish stuff. And warts and all, it's not great, but it's not awful, and the boy's trying. And a lot of the times you'll hear what I'm going to play now. I'm going to play City Sirens, which is, he brought out Paul Rodgers to sing because Steve Winwood did not come over. Oh yeah, Steve Winwood, another one. He wasn't coming over because he was recording, the album that preceded Back in the High Life, which still jumped him back, the one that had Valerie on it. So Steve Winwood, holy shit, Steve Winwood is second only to Phil Collins for ubiquitousness and everywhereness in the 1980s. So, yeah, everybody got a shot in the arm from that experience. Yay. None more than Jimmy Page, which actually got him back in the world of the living, blinking in the sunlight, but stumbling towards the light, as are we all. All right, let us listen to City Sirens, which is off the Death Wish 2 soundtrack with Paul Rodgers singing vocals. By the way, Paul Rodgers having a hard time with this song, and there's a whole stanza where he's just because he doesn't know the words. Hilarious. He fucks up the words throughout the tour. So there are times where you'll think, wow, Jimmy fucked that up. No. Paul fucked that up. So let's go. City Sirens. What is it? November 28th, 1983. There we have one of the shows of all time, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not saying Jimmy is killing it here, but I am saying that he's better than I remembered him being on this night. My memory of the opening night of the Arms Tour was pretty grim and definitely a bit under-rehearsed on Paul's area. Jimmy and the band were all right, which is really cool, and he played some decent runs. and he played the song. He did it well. The band that they were using was Jeff Beck's band, which is Simon Phillips on the drums, also played with The Who for a bit in the late 80s. After Kenny Jones, who was also playing drums at this concert, and before Zach Starkey, who I think is their drummer now, The Who, that is. So Simon Phillips on drums, Fernando Saunders on fretless bass, and I have to say, his fretless playing here must have had some influence on Jimmy and Paul's choice of Tony Franklin, the fretless bass player that they had for the firm. Now, I know that Jimmy met Tony while recording Whatever Happened to Ugula with Roy Harper and playing concerts there the summer of 1984. But prior to that, 6 months before that even, he's playing with Fernando Saunders, who was at this time the bass player for Jeff Beck and also Lou Reed. He was Lou Reed's bass player in the 80s. Very cool. Got to see him play with Lou in 1986 on the Mistrial Tour, which was the album that Lou tried to rap. I mean, all his albums are trying to rap. But great show. Worst tour to see him on, I think. Well, maybe not. I don't know. There were others. I would have loved to have seen him on the New York tour, but I didn't. But I still got to see Lou Reed. There you go. Okie dokie. And Fernando Saunders was there. The whole point. We come around in circle. All right. Next thing I'm going to play for you, friendos, is the very first public performance ever of Midnight Moonlight, the song that would become Midnight Moonlight. This is the first time. I think they were still calling it Bird on a Wing, tentatively. The song was still in development. It still is a little loosey-goosey, in the same ways that you heard City Sirens. There's just like Paul Rodgers doesn't know exactly all his parts yet, but he knows the lyrics a hell of a lot better than he knew. He doesn't mumble through shit, which is kind of hilarious, and probably wasn't even noticed by the audience that much. But Midnight Moonlight is played well. Jimmy plays it well. Is he fluid? Is it Royal Albert Hall 1970 Jimmy? Nope. It is 1983 Jimmy. But it is 1983 Jimmy. This is the opening night of the tour, so I think he's probably very rehearsed. I would imagine that he's a little more prepared and ready, in quotes, for public performance than he would be at later nights in the shows where he's clearly hammered. That's not happening here. I think it's kind of the similar situation as the Copenhagen warm-ups in 79 for Zeppelin, in that it was really important. This is a big, big deal. This is the first time you're being seen by this country, this continent, in 7 years. Don't fuck it up. And he didn't really fuck it up that bad, given his significant debuffs he was operating under at that time. All right, Midnight Moonlight / Bird on a Wing. It's good. Enjoy it. There's not a lot of noodling around. It's pretty solid. It's not all together because it's still embryonic, but it is good, and more importantly, our boy is good on it. Enjoy Jimmy.
With a smile, no obligation. She says, hold me now, I'll take you there. Simon with that one.
Out on a limb with that one indeed. But it wasn't terrible. It wasn't great. But you could see the potential that did rock. Simon Phillips, Fernando were locked in with Jimmy. They got into that thing. Jimmy did great, hit all the beats. Couple odd sounds came out of there, but also not bad. Goddamn, and the balls, the fortitude to walk out on stage in direct comparison to your peers / rivals for the throne of greatest rock guitarist, etc., with other rock gods, Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton, and you're out there jamming with them shoulder to shoulder in direct comparison with them in front of everybody at that point in your life when you know that you're not at your best, takes courage. And these guys really did love Ronnie Lane. He was a great guy. They were doing it out of kindness, out of altruism, out of compassion, and they enjoyed being able to do something good. This was also the first little blip of the celebrity philanthropy benefit thing that kind of went throughout the 80s, that made Band-Aid the next year, which brought about We Are the World the year after that, and Live Aid also the year after that, and then shit like the Sun City thing and all various different things. Protests and just people getting together to sing together for causes. And this is people getting together to sing together for a cause before everybody else. That's another little thing that makes this relevant. Somebody must have looked at that during Live Aid and said, how do we make the logistics of that, the Arms Tour, which is already hard enough. You've got Clapton coming up, then you've got Joe Cocker's set coming up, then you've got Jeff Beck's set coming up, Jimmy Page's set coming up, and then, most complicated of all, you've got everybody on stage at the same time. It's not just four different drummers at the same time. I think it's four. But you also have two bass players. You've got 1 million guitars. You have 1 trillion keyboard players, all playing at the same time. Complicated. Live Aid, same thing. Every 20 minutes, bam, bam, bam. Switch it out, different group. It has to be a, if not an inspiration, then at least a reference point when working out the logistics for Live Aid. It must have been like, well, what we did on the Arms Tour is this, so let's just expand that times 100 and do it at scale. I don't know. All right, time for the spiel. You can find me anywhere you can find me, but you know that because you found me. Thanks. Thanks for finding me. I am also on YouTube as Heart of Markness. I have a channel there. Same stuff as on the podcast network, just in lower quality. But if you want to look at a static image while listening to me, you can go to YouTube. That's there, Heart of Markness. I'm also super responsive to comments there, so if there's something you want to say, and there will already be at least one person on YouTube saying, this is garbage, why would you do this? Because it's historically important. It's a Led Zeppelin Jimmy Page podcast. If you don't like it, don't listen to it. I'm not saying this is the greatest show of all time. I'm saying it's important, it is ballsy, and it's not as bad as all that. There are worse nights. There are worse nights on this tour, for sure. So, there's that. I am on X, Twitter, as Heart of Markness. I'm on Instagram as Heart of Markness Zepp Podcast, all one mushed together word. Looks like a Welsh road sign. Ha, ha, ha. What else am I on? I'm going to get on Blue Sky soon. I don't know why I haven't. I just haven't, but I will. Facebook group, Heart of Markness. There's 300 Heart of Markness fans, classic rock fans, Led Zeppelin fans that hang out there and congregate. It's like a little bird feeder for the podcast. They fly in when I fill it up with delicious seed. Oh, I shouldn't have said that. Bad imagery. Sorry. Bird seed, millet. Yikes. So, Heart of Markness, go there. Join if you want to talk classic rock. You have questions about Zeppelin. You have, hey, does anybody have this show? That's a good place to go and connect and hang out. Where else am I? I am on heartofmarkness.com. That's very important. I have a website, heartofmarkness.com, where you can get these shows. You can get this entire recording. And in fact, if you download it, it's actually the first and second night. So you get 2 whole Arms concerts. Yay! Aren't you lucky? And what is the set list? Oh, the set list is all messed up. All right, let me see if I can get the set list here. It's just not in order. Here is the set list for the show that we're listening to, which is again November 28th and 29th, 1983. Introduction, Bill Graham, I believe. And this is Eric Clapton's set. Everybody make a change. Everybody ought to make a change. Change in the weather, change in the sea. Lay Down Sally, Wonderful Tonight. So you know he's just opening up raging hard. It's like going to see Slayer. Rita Mae. Sad Day, Sad Day. Have you ever loved a woman? Not that it's bad. This playing is great. It's just, Jesus Christ, man, you're opening a show. You're not putting people to sleep. Cocaine, great song. Andy Fairweather Low singing Man Smart, Woman Smarter, great. Joe Cocker coming out with Eric Clapton playing behind him. Don't Talk to Me. Watching the River Flow, the Dylan tune. Worried Life Blues. You are so beautiful. Great song. 7 Days, another Dylan song. Feeling Alright, Traffic song. Moving into Jeff Beck's set, which is Star Cycle, The Pump, Blue Wind, People Get Ready. Very good. Going down, 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 down. Unbelievable. Jeff Beck is unbelievable. Get the show just to listen to Jeff Beck be perfect. Be perfect, as he always is. Unreal. And then we have Jimmy's set, which is Prelude from Death Wish 2. Who's to Blame and City Sirens, also from Death Wish 2. Boogie Mama, which is a Paul Rodgers song off his solo album, Cut Loose, which I don't think was out yet. I think it was released in 84, but it must have been recorded by that time. And then Midnight Moonlight, followed by an instrumental version of Stairway to Heaven. Are you going to play that, Mark? Nope. Followed by the ensemble performance, which is everybody on stage, of Layla, with a little help from my friends. And then Ronnie Lane comes out and sings a very tender, and I don't think he had a lot of energy this night, because, of course, he's very ill, Goodnight Irene, which is nice. And Jimmy usually plays a very pretty solo for those nights, because he's Jimmy and he can be pretty at times. All right, this all leads me up to, oh yeah, you can go to heartofmarkness.com and get that show. There you go. Now you know what you're getting. Caveat emptor. It's free. There's no emptor, but there are caveats. So what else do we have? Patreon. If you love the podcast, if you like the podcast, if you want to support this podcast and what I do, sharing this music and the music of Led Zeppelin and Jimmy Page, live performances with the masses for free, and you feel like, hey, you know what? I don't want this to be for free. I want to pay this guy for the stuff he's giving away for free. Go to patreon.com/heartofmarkness and see if there's something there for you. You get your own episodes every month, new stuff, sometimes extended editions of other episodes. Of standard episodes, I'll just jump over to Patreon and do a couple more songs and talk about them. But a lot of times they get their own stuff. They get a little more deeper in the pocket stuff. They get more Robert Plant stuff. They get more John Paul Jones project stuff, more Jimmy project stuff, and of course, Led Zeppelin. That's what Patreon is for. And they also get access to my Mega Drive, which has like more than 400, fewer than 500 shows on it that they can get access to without having to scroll through the website. And there's stuff on the drive that isn't on heartofmarkness.com because I haven't used it. So there you go. Patreon.com/heartofmarkness. I'm there for you, and it would mean a lot. No worries, no pressure. It's always free, but just saying. All right. Thank you. Boy, that was a long time, but it was also a long set list. It was like 30 songs. Finally, the very last thing I'm going to play for you is the ensemble performance of Joe Cocker's with a little help from my friends. And that is because on the album, that's Jimmy Page playing the guitar. That wow, 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 that's Jimmy. Is that him at the concert? I don't think so. In the videos I've seen of that performance, it's not Jimmy playing that, but that's probably for the best. But it is really cool, and it sounds great, and Jimmy's playing it, and Jeff's playing it, and Eric's playing it, and Eddie Fairweather Lowe is playing it, and Charlie Watts, and Bill Wyman, Fernando Saunders, and Simon Phillips, and Ray Cooper, the guy beating the shit out of the gong in the Arms Concert Layla video. Elton John's percussionist, amazing percussionist, is there. Kenny Jones. Jimmy Page, I said. Eric Clapton. You know, everybody. And it is good. Let's listen to it with a little help from my friends Joe Cocker. And his set is really good. Get this show. It's a great, great show. Clapton is mellow at this time because he was mellow at that time, but his set is solid, and everything after that is just rockin'. So enjoy it. Little help from my friends.
I'm gonna try not to sing out of key. I want you back in my brain. Help me. I want you down in my brain. I'll get out of my brain. I'm gonna hold on with my friend. What do I do when my love is away? How do I feel by the end of the day? I don't get sad, I just keep trying with my friend. I'm in a red with my friend. I keep holding on with my friend. I need someone to love me. Oh, I need to survive. Going to the rain. Somebody to love me. Otherwise, I get lost. I keep trying to don't worry about it. I know it happens sometimes. I don't know, but it sure feels that way. I get lost in my brain now. I get lost in my brain. Keep holding on with my friend. I don't know who Don't worry about it. I never got a chance to scream, baby. My love long for me. Got some soul on it. We're gonna keep moving on.
Well, looks like they didn't plan out who was going to sing the backup vocals for that. They did do backup vocals on the rest of the tour. I don't know if they did the next night, but by the time they got to San Francisco, everybody was singing backup, so Joe Cocker didn't get lost. Instead of bow now, 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 do you need anybody? Yeah, nobody said that. So he was just like, which is pretty funny. It's great. Biggest rock stars in the world. Nobody thought to be like, hey, what do we do when it's time for someone else to sing? Don't worry, Jeff will just fill a lick, which he did beautifully. Jeff Beck, Clapton, of course. Jimmy was up there too. And there we have the Arms Tour. One thing I didn't do, and then I will free you from my serpentine embrace, is name the patrons that I have. That's another thing you get. Unless you tell me not to, I'll name you and thank you every week. So, a Laurel and Hardy handshake go out to the current titans upon whose shoulders rests this humble yet mighty podcast. So thank you very much, Keith and Tilda, Steve, George, Big Ed, Kenny, whose birthday it is today, even though he's in Australia, so it might be next month. Merry Christmas, Kenny. John from Westwoods Gray, Picard, Wayne, Brad, Danielle, he said, scrolling, Tracy, other best David. David, I see you on the Discord. I see you around. You are great. You are a huge supporter of all things Zeppelin, and everybody you support thanks you. None more than this man here. Thank you, David. Bonzo Billy and Mimo. Bum bum bum. That's it. We done. All right. This one was a little bit of a challenge. These are the Brussels sprouts on your plate, and you finished them. Good job. All right, next week we'll have pizza. Next week will be a nice, regular, good-sounding, good Led Zeppelin performance to cleanse the palate. But this is historically important, and it's Jimmy Page and Jeff Beck and Eric Clapton and Joe Cocker and all those guys. It's important. So now you heard it, shared it with you. You can grab the rest of it at Harder Markness if you want. And I will be back next week, God willing, with more Zeppelin for you. Thank you very much. Be good to yourselves and each other, and goodbye.